Okay, how to bleed a power steer system on whatever vehicle you have. If you've got a hydraulic power steer system and you've had part of the system disconnected or something out of it, you're going to have air in the system. So the very first step is to make sure that the front wheels are off the ground. Jack up both front wheels, make sure they're clear of the ground so that the steering can turn easily. It's not just for the ease of turning it, it's actually to take the load off the pump. If you have those wheels on the ground and try and do this, you're going to put too much load on a pump that has air in it and you could damage that pump. So that's the first step, and then of course make sure that you fill the system up with fluid. And then all we're doing here is we're turning the steering from lock to lock, back and forward, and then we will periodically go and check our reservoir here and just make sure that we're keeping that topped up. Okay, so you don't want to start the vehicle at this stage. You want to do plenty of turning the steering back and forward without it running. This is where we want to get rid of most of our air before we even think about starting the vehicle. If you've already started your vehicle and you find that you have a noisy pump, that's probably because you've aerated the fluid by not doing this step first. And the only way to really rectify that is often to leave the vehicle to sit, sometimes overnight, just to let that air dissipate from the fluid again and then restart the procedure correctly like this. So spend plenty of time in this stage without it running, just going back and forward, rechecking that level, and then if it drops down we'll top it up. So it's dropped down a bit there. What we really want to see is that fluid level remain steady before we start the motor up. Cool, so depending on the system, depending what you've had offered and how much air you have, like, yeah, sometimes you've got to do this a lot of times and it's just a lot of turning back and forward, but it's important to get this first lot of air out of it before you start it. Okay, so we're going to start it up now, so we're just getting our fluid ready, because the first thing we're going to do when we start it is go straight to our fluid. Because often what it will do is it'll suck a bunch of fluid down into the pump. So we want to be right there and ready to bring that level back up. Cool, and then we are going to repeat the same process now with it running. So again, just turning lock to lock. Note that our wheels are still in the air. You still need the wheels in the air at this point, basically until all of the air is out of the system. We don't put the wheels back on the ground until this whole bleeding procedure is finished. So again, just turning back and forward. Plenty of times, and we will need to check our fluid level again, but it tends to be pretty good by this point because we've done most of the work without the engine running. Recheck of the fluid there. Okay, and obviously we need the vehicle flat to check our level properly. but that is all done, and that's how you bleed your power steering system. Okay, there is one more trick to share with you in terms of bleeding your power steer system. This is something that's pretty rare, but you can get ear locks in the system. So recently I was doing a Toyota Hiace and the thing was ear locked. It just would not bleed whatever I did, but the fluid wasn't aerating. And this is the only time I've come across this in 20 plus years working as a mechanic. But the trick to that, if you have something that's really troublesome to bleed, is to actually, with the wheels jacked up like we had them, actually grab physically the wheels themselves and turn the steering with the wheels. So you're actually grabbing onto the tire and pushing the tire back and forward to turn the steering. And for some reason, just pushing from that direction rather than using the steering shaft will actually help clear that airlock out of there and allow you to bleed the system. So that's the big trick of the trade if you're really struggling to get something bled. Okay, so I hope this has helped you out today. Don't forget to click a like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.